All right, everybody. It has been a tumultuous season, both on the show and on this podcast. We did it bi-weekly. Lady Kirby got sick. Things have happened. I feel like the show started out strong. Kirby, if you'll remember, there were 2 episodes this season where I personally said, I think these are my favorite episodes of the entire series because they started bringing in some of the houses. We saw the Starks, we saw the Dorns, and I was going, oh my God, we're getting a little bit of that OG Game of Thrones feel. And I kind of feel here down the stretch, at least in the finale, me personally, we lost a little bit of that. Before we get into Trae's thoughts, what were your thoughts on the finale?
Well, I mean, this goes without saying, the whole Damon's vision with, winter is coming, like I was fangirling hard. Um, honestly, my favorite part of the finale was the old strong guy.
Yeah. From Harrenhal?
Yes. Yes. His background reaction to Damon's like stereo on his shoulder moment for Rhaenyra, it cracked me up.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite part. And Aegon talking about how his cock was like a sausage on the spit.
Yeah. Yeah, that part it's funny. It's like the Grand Maester was like trying to not talk about that, but he kept talking, and he's like, listen, you're in bad shape. And he's like, no, that was Laris, wasn't it? It was Laris.
Yeah, Laris.
Laris
strong.
Laris talking. Yeah. And he's like, listen, we got to go. Things are bad. And he's like, my dick exploded, right? And he's like, so I'm just saying your brother's probably going to kill you. And I think we need to, he's like, I piss all down my leg. We need to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Is what I'm like. He was just trying not to acknowledge the exploded dick thing, which I related to, I understood. But
I mean, I don't relate, but could assume that wouldn't be fun.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
I love how he'll make the like cripple comments to Laris, and Laris is like,
"Yeah,
tell me about it."
Right. Yeah,
and then Aegon is like, "Okay, well maybe I do need to say my cock is destroyed. Like yours is fine.
Right?
You use it for the feet.
Yeah, you can waddle over to a pussy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I can't do none of that shit."
Yeah.
Trae, I want you, me and you were talking off mic about the series finale, and I would like you to sort of explain to Kirby how you were feeling about it. I want to see if she has a similar take or not.
Well, I know. Well, first of all, I don't, all the listeners out there right now, one of them is my wife, Katie, and I can't decide if she's excited or pissed off right now that I'm here because she listens to you guys do this every episode. And so she knows I'm about to, because me and her talked about it, and I know she's in agreement with me. I feel like putting it in a couple of sentences. I feel like if that was episode 8 of a 10 episode season, or if that had been the penultimate episode, like if there was one more episode to go, I'd be fired up right now. I'd be pumped. I'd be looking forward to Sunday. I'd be like, this season can still end strong. This is going to be rad. But the fact that it was the very last episode, it was like, I love season 1 was super awesome, but it kind of felt like at the end of season 1, it was like, okay, now shit's really about to start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like all that we've had all this background, and the background was fun and intriguing, and I liked it. But like, here we go. Right. That's how the end of season 1 felt to me. And so the fact that season 2 was 8 hours of we still not going yet, really, like 8 hours of still not getting all the way there. And at the end of the whole season, we're just now at kind of that same place. It's like, no, listen, we promise. Now here we go. And it's like, it just feels, I don't know, unsatisfying.
So not great finale.
Yeah, right. Yes, the episode would have been totally fine, just not as a finale in my book. So yeah, I mean, I was ultimately pretty disappointed in it. And also, another overarching opinion I have about the whole thing is that after watching all of Game of Thrones multiple times and reading the books that exist and stuff, but I have not read the source material for this. So with that disclaimer, I feel like with House of the Dragon, I think you can tell that they're dealing with much less source material to draw from.
Yeah.
And they're trying to stretch that out for there's so much shit to put into Game of Thrones. They had to leave so much stuff out. And I feel like with this, you could tell that's like they're dealing with a much much smaller amount of just source material that them came up with, and that's what's going on here. Because the pacing just feels off to me. It feels stretched out, just feels like they're stretching the whole thing out, and because they want to get however many seasons out of it ultimately. And again, I'm still going to watch every episode till the very end, and a lot of it's going to smash for me. It's just that I'm not, I wasn't thrilled.
Yeah, because the thing is that it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't like, it wasn't like when you're watching when we were watching season 8 of Game of Thrones and all this stupid shit happened. Like I can't point to one thing where I was like, that was dumb, this was dumb, whatever. It literally was just the pacing. It's like the finale should have a murder. Somebody should be beheaded. Also, like, we've teased Otto Hightower coming back so many times, and he's nowhere to be seen except for he's in a jail cell right now.
Right, which is all.
I don't know what does that mean?
That makes it seem to me like they had to switch gears or something, like that they didn't know. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they knew that. I thought that scene in particular was very weird because it hasn't shown to me forever.
I thought it was too.
It doesn't. I feel like every single person watching it was like, "Oh, that's not. Wait, what? He's in jail. What is he? What was that?" And then we're not going to get an answer for like 2 years, and it's
because why would he have been in jail? I mean, what's his face? The new interim king like sends for him. Like, I want him to be my hand. Who is it that would be putting him in jail right now?
Maybe. I mean, that's
Laris. He doesn't want him.
Right.
Yeah.
Laris wants to be hand.
So he's not in an official jail. He's being held captive.
He's being held captive, I think.
There had been a couple moments, like you said, they sent for him, whatever. I remember Allison at one point said like she had sent him some ravens, but hadn't heard back. But at the time it kind of played like, oh, he's just pissy because of how everything went down. But I think really they were trying to foreshadow that he's in some trouble of some kind.
Yeah.
So I think they're just kind of like trying to tee up the mystery of like what actually happened to Otto or whatever. But still, I just felt like the way that it was weird. It was like 15 seconds of one thing that was just.
It should have been answered in this episode. Like you should have seen Laris come out and be like, throw him a fig or something like that. Yep, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing about like how it's just been so slow. I understand world building and fantasy shows, fantasy books. I get it. But when we have to wait this long between seasons, I'm going to need you to build that world in 30 minutes for me.
Dude, for sure. Me and Katie watched the first episode of this season. And then as soon as it was over, we were like, so we need to rewatch season 1, right? And she was like, yeah. And then we did. And I know that but the thing is, I don't have the highest of opinions about season 2. I know by the time season 3 gets here, I'm going to be like, I have forgotten a lot of stuff, but I kind of don't want to watch season 2 because I didn't, love it as much. Mm-hmm. And so it's, but yeah, that's the other thing too. We all know it's going to be like 2 years before it comes out again. And that's part of what makes it frustrating. Like
it is.
Yeah. Season 2 of House of the Dragon is like one of the first series HBO has put out where I go, that actually could have just been a 2.5-hour movie. You know what I mean? Because they were just kind of stretching along. And also we start the season with Blood and Cheese, which has been like the most hyped up thing in Game of Thrones lore that I've seen since like the Red Wedding is Blood and Cheese, right? This is going to happen. It does. It's over in a flash. And now basically what we've had is like 4 or 5 filler episodes of just like, I'm king, where's she, who's going to ride the dragon, blah, blah, blah. And like, I understand that Game of Thrones has, I guess, built up enough cachet with their fans that we are willing to wait. But it does seem like, especially considering, as Trae pointed out, like we ain't seeing shit till 2027. There needed to be a bigger blow.
And HBO just said that it's only going to be 4 seasons.
Well, I don't even see it should only be 3.
That's what I'm saying about like she's right. I think their whole plan was this is going to be 4 seasons. And what I was saying earlier is I think they're taking what they have to work with and they're having to stretch that into 4 seasons, which is why the pacing is so often things feel so stretched out the way that they do is because of that. They're like, we got to, and I think that's why this season was probably 8 episodes instead of 10. I think it's all that. They're like, they've done the math and they're like, to make this story go for 4 seasons, here's what we're going to have to do. And what they had to do was,
let Diamond trip balls and Harrenhal.
That whole, Damon, I love Matt. I love
he crushes.
Yeah, he's great. Whatever. The character is cool too, but his whole storyline this season was just like, I felt like by the third time it showed him tripping out at Harrenhal, I feel like almost everybody was like, okay, all right, we
get it.
It's been creepy, whatever, we get it, but
that should be one episode.
Do something, like make something, like move it along, and then they didn't until the very end of the whole season.
Yeah,
that should have 100% been one episode. And I mean, I guess HBO, in line with like having to stretch all this out, like they very famously know what it's like to be burned once you run out of source material from George R. Martin and have to go back to something else.
I think that's why they don't want to like have to make anything up themselves or whatever. It's because of that. But with what they have to work with, it's really not enough to justify 4 seasons. So they're having to put all this filler and shit. And that's my theory anyway. But y'all know they're making a whole nother Westeros show, right?
Jon Snow, right?
Seven Kingdoms.
No, she's right. The Jon Snow one, I think, got
axed.
It got caught in development hell or something. I don't think it's happening. They're making one called The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is also based on existing source material, which I also haven't read, about these 2 knights called Dunk and Egg.
Yes.
Duncan and Aegon or whatever, but they call them Dunk and Egg. And people love those books. People love those stories. I haven't read them, but they seem to really hit for people. But so we're making another spinoff about that, and that comes out next year. So I think their plan or whatever is that'll come out next year. They hope that hits for people, and then it'll be alternating. You know what I mean? Every year there'll be some Game of Thrones universe shit. But the thing is, like, Disney Plus be doing that with Star Wars and MCU stuff or whatever, and that ain't really hit for nobody. Because that's what I'm saying. Like,
you actually used that, compared that, Corey.
Yeah,
you said something about Star Wars in one of our podcasts. Well, I have a question. Do y'all think that this means that Dany is the prince that was promised?
I thought Jon Snow was the prince that was promised.
Well, Daemon's vision.
Right.
See, I do know that in High Valyrian that there's no like gender for prince or princess. So like when they say the prince that was promised, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a guy. It can be a girl too. But I mean, that vision with Daemon makes it seem like, I mean, it's Dany.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Who the hell knows? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it gets one of those things. It's like they just suffer from like there's high expectations for a show like this. You know what I mean? It's like again, just in a vacuum, it's a rad show. Like I do like it. It's not that
but there's a standard.
But the standard is just so high, and I don't feel like season 2 of the season 1 of the show, I felt like met the standard, but I don't feel like season 2 did.
I feel like season 1 exceeded them just because we came off such a slope.
Well, see, that is the thing. Coming into season 1, I feel like there were a lot of people that were like, I mean, I guess I'll check it out, but they were like burned. They were like, they didn't have a lot of the expectations were actually lower. Season 1 crushed, and people were like, oh, I remember how hard this universe hits for me when it's done right. And then the expectations were way up again, and season 2 kind of, nosedived a little bit. But again, surely season 3 is going to pop off. There's nowhere else for it. There's nowhere else for it to go from seasons. Here. Right. It has to finally go down.
Yeah.
At the beginning, there's just no way around it. And that will all be rad, I think. So
yeah.
We'll see.
I do think that our patience will be rewarded. And I listen, I understand the need for filler episodes, but this very much felt like a filler season.
Yeah.
Which is they spent a lot of money for a filler season. There were some high moments for sure. Like I said, when they started raising the banners and stuff and all the houses were coming together, I was getting that taste of like, okay, we're not just one central storyline. We're expanding this universe again. I'm getting to see the Tullys. I'm getting to see all these people. And for it to basically just end with Daemon bending the knee, who gives a fuck? Like, I'm trying to see, there should have been a goddamn dragon fight in this episode.
Yeah, there hasn't been enough hell yeah moments in this season.
No.
Agreed. Nor comedy.
And Rhaenyra.
Yeah, they tried to make up for that with like silly, like that mud wrestling, like tiling thing.
Right.
I feel like they were trying to like make up for some humor.
That is true. I mean, yeah, this show has been mostly humorless, which is weird because Game of Thrones had tons of funny shit.
Hilarious.
Yeah, we said they're missing a Tyrion in this series,
and it's not just that. Again, I do like the show. I'm looking forward to the next season. I don't want to just be bitching, but having said that, I'm going to keep bitching. It's not just the pacing and stuff. I just also thought there were other things that were weird about like I like Rhaenyra a lot as a character and stuff, but like the way that like she went from we need these dragons as a deterrent, right? Like I don't want to shed blood. They're like it's like the way people use nuke, but obviously the analogy is that dragons are like nukes, right? It's like mutually assured destruction, and they just use them as a deterrent. But then for her to go from that to like, okay, well, that ain't going to work. So what we're going to have to do with them is we're going to have to burn these cities to the fucking ground. And you're all going to have to be okay with killing innocent people because that's what happens in war. When it's like, now that you've got additional dragons and just
do that.
Pull up Vagar's shit up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why not? Like, I don't get going from that straight to fucking William Tecumseh Shermaning everything, just fucking salting the earth. Like, no, go have a dragon fight, like Kirby said. Like, because if you take Vagar's old ass out, you've got it on lock at that point.
It's over.
Pretty much. Right. So just like, and now you have them outnumbered, like what, 5-2, and the second one is Helena's dragon, and she just wants to play with bugs. She don't even want to fucking be on a dragon. Like, just go do that. Why would you not do that? And I guess the answer is like, well, then the show wouldn't be, what we need the show to be if they went and did that. But it's like, stuff like that I find frustrating. Even the Ray Nice episode was fire. I liked that a lot. But while I was watching that episode, when Ray Nice flies off by herself, I was like, why would they send her alone? It's insane
to go up against Godzilla.
Right. Like it's crazy that they would only send one dragon there's no way that makes and I get they're like, well, Rhaenyra can't be put it's like, okay, fine. It don't have to be her. They have a couple other dragons at their disposal that could have gone. It's crazy to send her by herself. And I feel like they made a bunch of strategic decisions like that really don't make much sense.
When they did that with her, when they sent her, it literally reminded me of when you watch like a cheap horror film where like a teenage couple has sex, so they're about to die. Like literally, it was like they sent her, and it was like, oh, okay, well, y'all just gave it away. She's gonna die.
Right. Yes.
There was there was no suspension of disbelief. Everyone knew she's going to die.
Everyone knew. Yeah. Yeah. Where we had, in Game of Thrones, there were shocking main character death. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't a shocking death.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And also another thing that I thought was weird, little Raina, I think's her name. Mm-hmm. The whole thing with that, she chases a dragon through the countryside for like days or weeks and almost dies while doing it. But it's also like she was sent there. She had like a mission to watch over those other little princes or whatever who were in that caravan.
Yeah.
And she just bounces. But the guards and shit, the knights in the caravan weren't like, hey, you guys notice the princess is gone? Like, we should probably figure this out. Like, she's supposed to be in charge of this whole thing. Like,
she's out amongst all the carcasses.
All of that was weird. Also, that should not have ended the way it did. I'm sorry. Like that being on a cliffhanger too. Like we all fucking know she's gonna
mount that dragon.
Here's what's gonna happen. I feel like we're not gonna see her again. There's gonna be some big battle. Fucking the tide starts to turn against them, and she's gonna swoop in on that wild dragon at the 11th hour, Gandalf style. Mm-hmm. But everyone, it's not going to play like everybody's going to be like waiting on that to happen, and then it will happen. I think is what's going to go down. And so like there's stuff like that too, where it's just like, I don't know, it's just kind of a frustrating show, despite also being,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we rate the season, Trae, we do out of 5 dragons. Before we rate the season, anybody got any predictions for season 3, episode 1, how that's going to take place?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be episode 1, but I'm just going to count the one I just said.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, so that's mine. Yeah, she's going to swoop in and save the day on that wild dragon.
I also think that Daemon's going to kill Rhaenyra.
In episode 1?
Not episode 1, but next season, I think that his whole like bowing to her, he's still got some bullshit going on in his head, and I think he's going to Jon Snow her I think that he's never going to relinquish that thought of I want to be all powerful or whatever. But yeah, I think they've got to, especially if all the feedback that they're getting about season 2 is similar to what we're saying. Episode 1's going to have to be a banger. It's going to have to be bloodshed. Obviously, you can't have the whole thing end there. But yeah. Anyways, Kirby,
yeah,
you have a theory? What's your theory?
My theory, because we have got to have Helena's had a little bit more speaking parts, and she's way too pure for this show. They're going to kill her off episode 1.
Okay.
Yeah, she had that scene with Aemond where she talked, and she had that, her prophecy. I mean, because she's a dreamer, a Targaryen dreamer. Is that a dreamer? And they're gonna kill her off.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's gonna suck. It's gonna sting. It ain't gonna be no Princess Shireen sting, but it's gonna sting. Nothing stung like that.
All right. Well, Kirby, as a whole, this season, out of 5 dragons, what do you rate it?
2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Exactly
I got a solid 2.5.
It's 2.5 because I feel like it's, again, I wouldn't call it bad. I enjoyed watching it, but it wasn't good either. It was frustrating in a lot of ways, and it didn't. If it had paid off well, it'd be very different. But the fact that it didn't, yeah, I think 2.5 is the perfect rating for it.
Well, there you have it. That was this season of Little House of the Dragon. We're sorry that we had some technical difficulties. Lady Kirby, we're glad that you are feeling better. And unfortunately,
milk of the poppy.
Do what?
I needed some milk of the poppy.
That's right. Unfortunately, it seems like we won't be back in this format for at least another 2 years, unless I would say if the new Harry Potter comes out between now and then.
Well, y'all ain't gonna do the Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
Oh, we'll do Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, we'll do that too.
Well, that's supposed to be next year. So.
Yeah. So, but as far as Little House of the Dragon, we'll see you when we see you. And we would like to thank our first and only guest, the most requested guest we've ever had, Trae Crowder. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Sorry, all right, Katie. Kirby, where are you going to be this weekend? You at the Funny Bone or?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Go to TraeCrowder.com and see Trae. WeLoveCorey.com for my stuff. And stay fancy, everybody. Thanks for listening.